and welcome to Creative Catalysts for Change, powered by PechaKucha. I'm Ian Fenwick, your MC for this evening and chair of the Chilliwack Creative Commission. The organization that is bringing you this, our 7th annual PechaKucha, streamed live from Tim McAlpine's Studio C in Midtown Chilliwack. The Chilliwack Creative Commission actively works to support film, TV, and commercial production, plus all manner of interactive, digital, and creative activity. Through this work, the Commission aims to develop economic opportunities in the growing creative industry sector while enriching the quality of life in Chilliwack. The Commission is this smiling group of passionate creative leaders. Drawn from a cross-section of the community, these individuals work to develop connections among local creatives, helping to establish a fertile environment for creative work in Chilliwack. They are assisted by 3 very capable staff members pictured on the right side of the slide. While all members of the Commission have contributed to organizing this PechaKucha, key to this event are Tim McAlpine, who is hosting the streaming and recording this production in his studio. Matthew Hawkins is our official behind-the-scenes photographer tonight. And Nettie Tam, CEPCO Manager of Business Development, has been coordinating the entire event. In addition to this annual PechaKucha, the Commission sponsors events throughout the year. On the 3rd Thursday of every month, the Commission, in cooperation with Co-op Chilliwack, holds an informal meetup event called Creative Thursdays. Open free of charge to all interested members of the public, Creative Thursdays provide an opportunity for local creatives and entrepreneurs to network, share ideas, and learn more about our dynamic community. Our next meetup is scheduled for November 18th. Please check the Creative Commission webpage for details. The Commission also co-sponsors the Chilliwack Independent Film Festival presented in November. Taras Groves, the festival director, is a member of the Commission. He envisions growing a local filmmaking culture by bringing films and filmmakers from the region, other parts of Canada, and the world together for an opportunity to share their work with each other and local audiences. In the 4 short years of its existence, the festival has created extremely successful buzz among independent filmmakers locally, nationally, and internationally. This year, the festival will be running from November 19th to 20th at Cottonwood 4 Cinemas. Please check the CIFF website for information on this year's films and how you can view them. The Creative Commission is a committee of the Chilliwack Economic Partners Cooperation, or CEPCO, the economic development arm of the City of Chilliwack. Thanks to both CEPCO and Mayor Ken Popov and City Council for their support for the ongoing work of the Commission. Here is Councillor Jason Lum, the city's representative and enthusiastic creative sector supporter, to offer his perspective on behalf of Mayor and Council.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Lum here from the City of Chilliwack. It's my pleasure to welcome you here tonight to the PechaKucha event. You're about to see an amazing lineup of creatives from right here in Chilliwack speak. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank all of the volunteers, all of the production crew, and most of all of the speakers who volunteered their time to be here tonight and share their stories with you. Again, thank you very much on behalf of Mayor and Council, and enjoy the show.
CEPCO's president is Brian Coombs. Brian is responsible for attracting and facilitating Chilliwack's economic development, for creating opportunities for businesses to locate and thrive in the Chilliwack area. The Commission acknowledges, with gratitude, that our creative work takes place on the unceded traditional territory of the Stalo Nation. I ask Commission member Sandra Bonner-Pederson to offer her First Nations welcome to PechaKucha 2021. Sandra, please.
Ace-Whale, Ethlot, Quilmuk, Tilsqui, Talitzel, Quachiactal. Good day, everyone. My traditional name is Ethlot. My given name is Sandra Bonner-Pederson, and I am a member of the Chiacton First Nation. I'm also a leader for my community, and I belong to the Chilliwack Creative Commission. We are standing here on the Kokalitsa grounds in front of this beautiful monument. And what I would like to do, I am Stalo from the territory, I would like to welcome everybody to this great event. I hold my hands up in welcome.
Some of you have attended our previous live events, so you know how PechaKucha works. For those of you who don't, let me briefly explain. We have invited 8 speakers representing a broad range of interests to each present 20 images showcasing their creative work or how they harness creativity in the work they do. Each of these images will play for 20 seconds, in which time the presenters speak about the image, then automatically the image advances. That means each presentation will be 20 by 20 seconds, or 6 minutes and 40 seconds exactly in length. If you aren't interested in one presentation, just you wait. Another one will be along soon. This elegant and challenging for presenters format was devised to streamline over-talky slide presentations, to show more and talk less. PechaKucha events are hugely popular worldwide, regularly happening in more than 1,000 cities. PechaKucha translates from Japanese as the sound of conversation. Our sound of conversation will be continuous for about 60 minutes without an intermission, or the opportunity to engage speakers in questions and answers. In the normal world of direct human interaction, you would have the opportunity to do this in the lobby after the presentations, all the while enjoying refreshments that are provided. Networking, discussion, and social enjoyment are all part of the PechaKucha experience. This evening, we hope you have your favorite refreshments at hand and are ready to enjoy a socially distanced PechaKucha in the comfort of your home. A word to the presenters: remember, you will have a 5-second countdown on the confidence monitor, after which your presentation begins. We would appreciate you, members of our viewing audience, to connect with your friends online about this event. Please use the # Creative Chilliwack as the hashtag. Please feel free to tweet or post either during or after the event. Now, we are ready to begin. In keeping with our theme of all of our speakers have been selected because they are creative change makers in our community. Our first catalyst to present is Amber Price, the owner-operator of the Bookman, the undisputed cultural and intellectual center of downtown Chilliwack. Amber is active in many progressive community enterprises. She is a member of the CEPCO board and the Creative Commission, and an unabashed promoter of downtown businesses, regularly hosting visiting film shoots in her store. She is also the passionate curator of the Chilliwack Mural Festival and its promoter of the role in transforming downtown. Amber, please.
Sometimes I'm almost puzzled as to how I became the director of a mural festival. But when you consider my strong organizational skills, my commitment to my community, my love of the downtown, and my passion for public art, I guess it kind of makes sense. And it all began innocently enough. I wanted to put a mural on the back of my business. Entitled Open for Interpretation, this mural is a subjective experience that changes depending on the viewer's preference in titles. It's also, of course, a shameless advertisement for my business. And this is part of the beauty of public art. It can do more than one thing at the same time. Like selfie walls, these interactive murals invite people to participate in their urban centers in unique ways. Nothing makes me happier than coming out the back of my business and discovering people taking photos with friends and family and making memories in this space. But it wasn't until I created my first large-scale mural that I knew I was hooked. 25 feet tall, this iconic beauty is now the gateway into our downtown core. But every single night it would make me sad because it would disappear when the sun went down. So I leveraged some of my volunteer hours and applied for a public lighting grant. And now this mural that once disappeared in the dark is a showcase piece. Public lighting is unique in that it creates feelings of safety. It lights things up and creates an urban vibe that everybody loves. And I began to realize how important public lighting is in the vibe of a downtown core. Take this alleyway, for example. A once forgotten about space, this is now a welcoming, warm, and cozy lit place that lures you in. It almost feels European in some ways. And as you walk down this once forgotten about alleyway, you discover something totally unexpected. Jellyfish Jail made use of a derelict, abandoned doorway that nobody had loved in a very long time. Now illuminated by 240 watts of black lights, this place sings with creativity and creates a place that people can stop and appreciate a little bit of art. And I think about these spaces like papered up windows, forgotten about deficits in our downtown that can become showcases for creative enterprise, creating small commissions for digital artists and giving you little spots to enjoy and pause in your urban centers. But I don't believe that all public art has to be temporary in that sense. It can be like this canvas that was custom built for my business. This resided there for a couple of months during our first Mural Festival, and then was moved to the permanent collection at Chilliwack General Hospital, temporary becoming permanent to be enjoyed for many generations. As I started moving through my downtown core on foot on a regular basis to show people murals, I discovered a frightening amount of trash and neglect, and it really started bothering me that somebody wasn't doing something about it. And then I remembered that I am somebody. I began spending my Sundays picking up garbage, first by myself, then with friends and family, and soon the community began to join me in reclaiming these neglected spaces and turning them into community spaces. We hauled trash from outside of buildings, we crowdsourced $4,000, and we transformed this space from a derelict wasteland to somewhere that's inspirational and invites community. We closed in a problematic doorway, installed a mural, new doors, and a little free library. Combined with a selfie wall and another public lighting grant, this space is utterly transformed. Now people are drawn here for an entirely different reason, and it creates passive security with good lighting and a beautiful mural. I love the little pockets of canvases that exist throughout cities that are unexpected, like dumpsters. They're a reality in every city, peppering alleyways and the backs of buildings, and now I've begun to see them as potential canvases, little sparks of joy to draw people together in their community. And the same goes for smaller canvases in a downtown core, like doorways. It gives space for emerging artists to test their chops without the pressure of a large wall. And as you're moving through an urban center on foot, it's a small space to slow down and enjoy. And all of these forgotten about spaces that you would otherwise pass by, like alleyways, are all of a sudden community spaces, giving you a reason to move into them with confidence and curiosity, to enjoy them with friends and family, stop to take a picture, and perhaps read the plaque and learn the story of the mural. And murals have a unique ability to communicate complex ideas in a heartbeat. I think it's very important, especially for youth, to see yourself reflected in your urban center. And murals are a way of accomplishing that in a beautiful way. While I'm curating artists, I think it's very important to look for representation. Intentionally, I choose artists that are emerging, female artists, BIPOC artists with an emphasis on Indigenous artists, those who are LGBTQ Two-Spirit plus, and those who live with disability. When we see ourselves represented in our urban centers, we feel belonging and a sense of community that is so important. Perhaps crowdsourcing is a way of manifesting that feeling of community and murals belonging to all of us. When we come together with a common goal and a common purpose, we are so powerful. And twice now I have fundraised in a crowdsourcing situation to pay for murals, and these literally belong to the generous people that make contributions. Murals are an equalizer. Your socioeconomic status does not matter. They are there to inspire you, to draw you in, and to put you in a state of awe and wonder with their beauty. I love seeing my murals for the first time through strangers' eyes, and I guess that's why I've become an unofficial mural tour guide. My name is Amber Price, and I am the director of the Chilliwack Mural Festival. I don't just believe that public art boosts the tourism economy or creates opportunities for the creative class. I believe that murals change communities, cities, and in turn, the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. Michael Florizone is a graduate of the University of Alberta and Saskatchewan. He is a writer, filmmaker, sometime actor and an enthusiastic teacher of film and media at G.W. Graham Secondary School, where he mentors and encourages students, catalyzing them to tell their stories through sound and moving visual image. Michael, please.
Thank you. This is me and my dog, Grover, on our acreage. I grew up in northern Saskatchewan, 80 acres, and I felt like I had a lot of space to grow up on, and it really influenced me as a teacher and an artist, ultimately. Yeah, and I had a great haircut, as you can see. My mom used to cut my hair. She doesn't cut it anymore. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and this is me and my brother in a magic show that we did on 8mm film camera. It was a lot of fun. It kind of sparked my interest in film from a young age, and as you can see, my brothers thought it'd be funny to put me in my sister's leotard, which was kind of interesting. Notice my teacher stance. Now I teach film and television at GW Graham. We've gone from 1 class to 8 in the last couple of years, which is really great. We're growing rapidly. I have a couple goals as a film teacher. One is to give my students an opportunity to be creative. The other is to, to develop film skills as well, and also to help build the film industry in Chilliwack. Film is not made alone. It's a collaborative effort, and there's a great synergy that happens when students come together and collaborate, and their ideas come together and to create something new and interesting. It gives chance for students to pretend and do something different. It's a break from the academics. Here we see a couple students, some students doing an action sequence. I think kids need to play more, even in grade 9 to 12. It's always important to do. Hopefully that gear isn't getting wet in the rain. These 2 students live and breathe film. They graduated last year, and they recently created a film called You Have Us Now, which is on YouTube. They spent the last year and a half during the pandemic doing that. And when you have students who are, really into it, it just makes the job really fantastic and fun to come to. Here we have a group of students who are really eager to take out all the best film gear outside, and I got really nervous about that, and they said, trust us, it's okay. And so I did, and they created this really fun little short, which is high energy, and it's a lot of fun, and sometimes you just have to trust as a teacher. Students often take projects home and get help from parents or family. Here we see William and his dad. They created a very heartwarming, wonderful short film called William's Ketchup Eating Service. It's a film that I cannot see enough of. It's just fantastic. And when films are made with parents and family, it just has often have that extra special touch. Here we see Brooklyn working on she's in her 60-second documentary on journaling. It was very sad. She lost her mom at a young age, and she found journaling as a way to work through her grief. It was very powerful for our students to see that and to experience that together. Film gives students a chance to show all sides of themselves and be very expressive. It's wonderful to have students be very strong on camera and be individuals, and it's I believe it's inspiring for others to see and do the same when they see students do that. It's powerful. Film is also an opportunity for students to express frustration. Here we see some students creating this is from a film early in the pandemic when their students were feeling very isolated at home socially and emotionally. And here we see the emotion on the face there. These 4 young women created a short film on catcalling, the unfortunate remarks made too often by men in society, and it was a very powerful film. A film can be made to help create change, and that's what this does. It made me want to jump out of my seat and make change. These 2 women, Maddie and Eliza, they created a film called Insecure. They submitted it to the Chilliwack Independent Film Festival, and they got it accepted as an official selection. It won a Chilliwack Spirit Award, and they were awarded it by the Mayor of Chilliwack, which is wonderful. Speaking of Chilliwack, speaking of film festivals, I started a film festival in 2019. We had the Chilliwack Student Film Festival. We had 26 short films shown. We had directors up there and students talking back to the audience. It was wonderful. One of the directors said, "I felt seen," and I thought that was a really powerful moment to hear. We had popcorn. We had student design merchandise. It was wonderful. We're going to do it again this year on May 11th, 2022. Mark your calendars. We're going to go big and epic this year. We're hoping to have a stretch limos, a red carpet ceremony, and awards, which will be a lot of fun. I promise to make extra popcorn as well. We'll also live stream that event. Speaking of epic, this is an epic shot. I thought my students for sure stole the image, but no, they didn't. And not to worry, parents were involved, and they also had a burn permit for this one. It's quite the shot. It's amazing and inspiring when students go above and beyond to create great cinema in the name of great art, really. It's great to see. Students often intentionally or unintentionally have issues, create issues in their films of mental health or share issues, mental health and relationships and conflict in relationships. It opens up interesting conversations in class, and it builds an interesting environment for us. Students often explore variety of techniques and editing. And they explore different genres and techniques and styles. And here we see a little color grading on the lips of the students. The lipstick is kind of cool. It's really fun to see what people do. And I get to learn from them. The students really try new things. It's fun. Here is, I was in this film, actually, I jump at the chance at being in any film. This is Zone Pictures. They created a film at a butcher shop in Mission, BC. I was the butcher manager. It was fun. I got to pretend and be a real jerk. It was really fun. It's just pretend. But here we have students in my front yard, actually, later on Zone Pictures shot. And we had past students, present graduates as well, present students as well. And they were... It was wonderful. It was really about building community. They're finishing off a feature film. And really, truly, it's about building connections in our community and inspiring the youth of tomorrow. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to the future of cinema in Chilliwack. Thank you very much.
Margaret Reid is president of the Downtown Chilliwack Market Society. She has fond memories of the farmers market in Central Park in the 1990s and is proud to be leading the team that has brought it back. She is also co-founder of the active group Citizens for Change that has supported Pride events and the Convoy of Care, bringing treats and much-needed morale boosts to our Chilliwack General Hospital healthcare workers on the COVID front lines.
Like several speakers this evening, I grew up in Chilliwack. And as a kid in downtown Chilliwack in the late 90s, I loved attending the farmers market that took place where Central Park is now. It was a fun, accessible space where my family could access healthy local food at an affordable price. But the community feeling in that space was more important than the food access itself. That's a memory that stuck with me and something that was in my heart as COVID began to impact our community. As the pandemic began, I was working as a community builder for United Way. I often received phone calls from people who did not have enough food. We have a fantastic network of service providers in Chilliwack, but everybody was overworked by the pandemic. And if somebody had an allergy or an intolerance, there were simply no options available for them. So fellow Chilliwack Citizens for Change board member Christopher Hunt and myself decided to do something about this. We made it everybody's problem. Over the course of a few weeks, we took it to every agenda and table that we could get it on, and we basically talked to anybody that would listen. We managed to procure a grant from United Way from their Food Hub program to create our hamper program Extra Fare, food access for restricted eaters. Extra Fare was unique because it worked with a weekly choice form, and it was completely catered to individual dietary needs. We delivered it to over 40 households for more than a year. It was a resounding success. Although we had to transition out of the program, the lessons that I learned running Extra Fare definitely kickstarted my understanding of working with program recipients to make sure that accessibility is low barrier and comes with dignity and choice. As the pandemic ramped up and supply chain concerns did along with it, the conversations among the doers in Chilliwack transitioned to talking about how we could work on getting the food that is made and grown in Chilliwack to those who live here. At Chilliwack Healthier Communities Poverty Reduction Task Force, we began a community inventory of small-scale agriculture production in town to see how we could go about making it accessible. We brainstormed CSAs, community gardens, and other solutions until somebody pointed out that Selena at PechaKucha had the space for a market but no team to execute it. That, combined with the memory of the market from my childhood and my recent experience working at Extra Fair, meant that I was all in for this project. I agreed to co-lead it with Selena, and I eventually became the Market Society president. We put together a positive, collaborative team that shared our food-focused, inclusive values, and in early spring, we began planning for a market that would open in June. We also set the foundation for a meaningful partnership with Squaw First Nation, whose unceded and stolen territory the market does sit on, to ensure that they would benefit from the use of that land. One of the unique aspects of the downtown Chilliwack Community Market is food security. Not all markets have that, and as members of the BC Association of Farmers Markets, we did have access to the Government Nutrition Coupon Program. Sheets of coupons were distributed by our partner, Bowls of Hope, to those in need. We had over $7,400 worth of redemptions in our first season. That's an amazing first season. But my favorite food security initiative through the market was our Market Cash program. Featured on a previous slide, they were $5 coins, little wooden things made by a local artisan. And we gave a few $1,000s worth of those out to local community groups, Squaw First Nation, healthcare providers, Senior and District Resource Center, and others. But the really cool thing about Market Cash was that the general public could purchase it like a carnival token at our main market tent. And because there was no distinction between who was using the token for what, it really ripped away the barriers for the stigma associated with food access. It also ensured that our program recipients got access to that entire market experience, further tying them into that community space. And it also ensured that it upheld the dignity and choice that was inherent in our market's inclusion values. As the season rolled on, we noticed that it was about more than food access. One of the other things that we know that the market really brought to the community was a gathering space for those who had been separated for so long due to COVID. Watching the relief in the eyes of community members as they were able to safely gather and enjoy food and live music in the market space became mesmerizing. I attended every week through the entire season, and every week, a new friend or relative would come and sit with me and watch the space unfold, enjoying what I'd helped to create. It really became a joyful space. And in that joyful space, we managed to accomplish more than we ever imagined. We managed to hold a vaccination clinic on behalf of Fraser Health. Downtown businesses noticed a huge uptick in foot traffic and sales, especially those in Central Village where the market is located. Local elected officials were able to engage with constituents. We had live music, kids' activities, and perhaps best of all, we were able to be home base to Chilliwack's third annual Pride event. Over 5,000 people came out on a Sunday afternoon in Chilliwack to celebrate love and inclusion. We had drag queens, live music, artisans, and of course the market itself. It was a huge success, and we look forward to hosting that in future years. These are just a few examples of how our market became so much more than a simple shopping experience. It really became about community. COVID has had an intense and profound impact on us all. There has been division, darkness, and loss at every corner. And that's why I'm proud in that environment to have led a team that has brought a project to the community that fostered love, connection, and dignified access to resources in the community that I grew up in. I hope that my children will attend the market and that the other children attending the market will notice this, will feel that community inclusion in that space, and that they will take that memory forward with them in life and use it to create the change in the world that they wish to see, just like I did.
Aaron Pete is the curator of the popular podcast Bigger Than Me. Aaron was born and raised in Chilliwack, graduated from Sardis Secondary, studied at UFV and UBC. His is a story of perseverance, determination, and love, that enabled him to overcome significant early life challenges to become a broadcasting change maker. Aaron, please.
I'd like to talk to you about overcoming adversity and reaching your full potential. My mother was saved by a nurse at Kokalitsa Indian Hospital as a child. That nurse is in the middle of this photo and my mother to the left. I wouldn't be here today without Dorothy Kennett's decision. I have always felt connected to my grandmother. She was always in my corner when times were tough. Visiting her was my escape from a life of poverty. She was, and still is, my hero. My mother struggled with a disability. Her and I relied on social assistance, community resources, and Good Samaritans when I was growing up. My mother took parenting courses at Family Place and did the very best she could to provide for us and to encourage me to move forward positively. We grew up in downtown Chilliwack during a tough period in the community. My close friend Jacob and I would visit the local subway during middle school, which looking back was a way we kept ourselves out of bad behavior. It was at this subway where it was robbed, I chased the person, and ended up having to go to court as a consequence. That was my first time taking a bold action. I learned this from my role models growing up. A few years later, there were plans to tear down a theater that my friends and I went to my whole life. Jacob and I started to try and save the Paramount. It was a sad day to see it torn down, but my first interaction with community leadership. At this time, I had teachers who told my mother that I might not graduate high school and that I had a personality disorder. The plan was to go to Chilliwack Secondary, but I switched in the hopes of having a better education without negative peer influence. I was grateful for this because the culture at Sardis was to go to university. I ended up attending UFV for criminology and criminal justice. During this time, I had professors who truly believed that I had a potential that was untapped. I have been to a few universities, but UFV will always have a special place in my heart because they encouraged me and said that I had more potential to live up to. Right after graduation, I called, emailed, tried to contact anyone at the Native Court Workers and Counseling Association. I had learned about the overrepresentation of Indigenous people and found this a way to tackle that issue while reconnecting with my culture. It was through this that I learned about Crown Counsel, judges, and lawyers. Through that role, I was encouraged to seriously consider law school. So I did. I started preparing for the law school exam at Starbucks. I wrote the exam and was accepted by Peter A. Allard School of Law, and I'm currently in my third year. I believe I proved the teachers wrong and my professors at UFV right about reaching my potential. But I missed my partner. I was living on campus, and I decided that I would rather commute from going to Chilliwack to Vancouver. And during that time, I listened to a lot of podcasts by neuroscientists, evolutionary biologists, and engineers, and it inspired me to start my own podcast. One of my favorite rappers, Sean Anderson, had a song called Bigger Than Me. It discussed his time and realizing that the music was bigger than himself and it wasn't about the money and fame. I listened to this song on repeat because it reminded me of my grandmother and her action of doing something bigger than herself and the influence and impact it had. With the logo, I did my best to tie in the Paramount Theater, which Jacob and I tried to save, the neon lights, and the album cover from Sean Anderson's song, Bigger Than Me, in the hopes that this would tie in my life experience into a project that was bigger than myself. I decided to focus on interviewing individuals I identified as role models, because I know there are many people out there with negative family supports, antisocial peers, and who don't have someone to talk to or listen to. So I decided to make 3-hour-long interviews where we hear about the family, their community, and their career. But I lost my grandmother this year, and this tore me apart. I thought about the legacy that she had left and realized that was one of the greatest gifts she could leave me. Through the Bigger Than Me podcast, I decided to carry on her legacy and try and build upon it, upon my family and my supports. I've had the opportunity to interview great leaders like Chief David Jimmy, who leads many organizations and has worked hard to build bridges in our community and not to look towards divisiveness. I've gained a lot from interviewing individuals like David, and hopefully my listeners have as well. It was an honor to interview Brian Minter for a few reasons. We talked about how he lost his mother to cancer, and it had a lot of similarities with my grandmother. We talked about his community and how he tries to impact his community in a positive way, and that made me think of my grandmother, her legacy, and how to move forward in a better direction. I've also had the pleasure of interviewing individuals like Inez. Inez Louie is now the Health and Wellness Director for Shiam First Nation. She talked about the challenges of attending the University of British Columbia and being apart from her family. And again, this resonated with me because these were similar challenges that I was facing. I've also had the pleasure of interviewing neuroscientist Ryan Darcy, who is based out of Surrey. He lost his mother at a young age to alcohol use. Despite this, he has helped innovate his field and improved the quality of care individuals with brain cancer receive, and has put Canada on the world stage for some of his research, including Project Iron Soldier. I have faced a lot of adversity and challenges growing up, and I didn't know what it meant to reach my full potential. But when I thought of this, I thought of a video I watched called Good by Jocko Willink, and he argues that we should look at adversity as an opportunity because it can set the example for others, and that is what I hope this podcast brings about. I hope this podcast can inspire others to face their challenges head on, find a supportive community, and to reach their full potential. Through this, I sincerely believe that we can all be catalysts for change in a meaningful way in our communities.
Thank you, Aaron. Megan McDonald is the co-owner and operator of Bricklayer Brewing in downtown Chilliwack. Bricklayer has been pumping out excellent beer and growing a loyal following within the beer-loving community despite opening in the middle of a pandemic. Megan.
I got a call from Chris at 3 p.m. on a Friday afternoon in early 2019. I found a brewery business class that I really want to take, he said. It starts next Monday, costs $600, and I need to register in the next 2 hours. As supportive partners, we all know you don't get to say no to requests like that. And just like that, we were opening a brewery. Mostly because we were broke and had just invested $600. That was everything we had. So there was no going back now. Backstory, at this point, Chris had been brewing beer at home for a while now. He had a background in construction and was really good at firing people. I had worked in bars and restaurants for forever. And while I had once declared that I would never work in a bar again, I knew that I could run one. We're married, and we have 2 kids. They're 4 and 7. Over the next year, we got investors, signed a lease, and designed the space. Then, the pandemic hit. Chris had quit his full-time job in February 2020 to literally build the brewery, and I was working full-time. By the summer, the building site had closed and then reopened, and Chris and I were both working triple time. We never saw each other. We didn't have any childcare, and I can only speak for my own mental health, but it was terrible. We kept on pushing. You make a million decisions when you open a business, and our values were decided early on. We are all equal, and if you don't believe that, you can drink beer somewhere else. But over the last 2 years, we learned how to act on that and how to genuinely hold space and drink beer with marginalized people. It was because of movements like Black Lives Matter that I learned how to listen and gain the language to provide a truly inclusive space. We opened our doors in November 2020. Almost a year ago, it's been a cruel time to open a business, mask mandates, a period I refer to as the patio time. You know it all, but we're still here. I've got a story about what it's like to own a business with your husband. It involves me telling a flat-out lie to a customer. It's the patio time. There's a couple having a drink outside, and I ask them if they want another round. And the husband asks me, "So it's your husband that's the owner here, isn't it?" "No." And here comes my lie. "I'm the owner." "Oh, but you two own it together, right?" "No, I am the owner." "Oh, and he's your employee?" "Yes." And I walked away. I felt super weird about what I had said, and not because I had lied. I tell lies all the time. But when I got home, I told Chris about the interaction. The two of us obviously both know that we're equal owners of this business, but I knew he wasn't going to like this. Because here's the root of it. Why is it that the idea of me working for my husband feels totally normal to all of us, but the idea of Chris being my employee makes us so incredibly uncomfortable? Along with Chris, we now own and operate a business in an industry that is dominated by misogyny. I send emails only to have the receiver respond directly to Chris. I've been called just a server by people who I thought respected me as a business owner. I've been told to smile more after giving a speech about misogyny. The brewing industry is one that is routinely cruel to non-cis male identifying people, and I refuse to let it happen at Bricklayer. Because there's something going on here that's alive. We have servers that genuinely like talking to people, but are also very, very good at keeping this space safe for us all. Sometimes I wonder if this simple act of talking to people and making them laugh and looking them in the eye is all that it takes to make people feel comfortable in a space. But we all know that in this world it takes more than that, because there will always be people that threaten the safety of others. I'm trying to set an example in this industry and in this town. I let myself be completely me at the brewery. And that gives people the freedom to also be themselves. And in the background, my staff and I will keep those people who are trying to threaten our safety out. We are done with laughing at jokes that aren't funny. As a server in the hospitality industry, this is not the norm yet, and definitely not in Chilliwack. For those of us who have worked in this industry for a while now, it's been ingrained in us to laugh off the sexual, racist, homophobic hate that is intended as a joke, but designed to make us feel small. The customer is no longer always right. As servers at Bricklayer, we are still incredibly kind and helpful, and we love our jobs, but we aren't putting up with this anymore. So here's how you open a business in the middle of a pandemic with $600. You hold very, very tightly to what you believe in, even though the shitheads are people too. If they don't believe in equality, then they get to go. Then we wind up with a spot where we all feel comfortable enough to have a good time. It was a hell of a year to open a business, a time when most of us were feeling lonely, stressed, and scared. But we promised to keep pumping out the beer, and I promised to keep doing what I do best, to give people love and praise when they need it, and to give people shit when they deserve it. And I'll keep learning how to show up for the people in our community, because the only way to create change is to live it.
Dr. John Thomas is the director of the Esposito Family Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the University of the Fraser Valley. He also holds the BC Regional Innovation Chair in Canada-India Partnership Development at UFE and is an associate professor, Innovation and Entrepreneurship in the School of Business. In his role as the BC Regional Innovation Chair, he is engaged in building research partnerships between Canada and the world, with a major focus on India. His official bio notes, he believes that high-impact teaching and research can be fostered through collaborations that transcend disciplinary and organizational boundaries. Dr. Thomas, please.
Thank you, Ian, for a very gracious introduction. Good evening, everyone. Today I'll be speaking to you about design thinking for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is important. Entrepreneurs and startups are the lifeblood of any nation and small communities. Some of the problems that entrepreneurs face are linked to product market fit. Many times when starting businesses, they find that the market is not ready for their product. How do they deal with such issues? What are the options that are available to entrepreneurs in such situations? In product market fit, they may note that word of mouth isn't spreading, the sales cycle takes too long, and lots of deals never close. What can you do in such a situation? You can use design thinking. It involves understanding the problem, involving users, ideation, prototyping, testing, and repeating in an iterative process, and finally implementation. So let's take the case of aging and mobility during aging. So looking at a walker, an older person said, "Over my dead body will I ever use one of those." It makes one stoop over. So how can we solve that problem in society? Along comes an inventor who came up with a product called the Alinker, after her own name. Here, users sit upright at eye level with standing companions. The weight is supported by the seat, the feet remain on the ground, and it has a light, foldable frame for easy transport. So what kind of feedback do community members and users give? They are so relieved not having to stress so much about tripping and falling. They say that I shouldn't be measured by my disability, and for the first time in many years, they are walking side by side with their companions. Let's look at the case of a Canadian toy company. Lots of unboxing videos are popular on YouTube. There's a certain thrill from the ideas of toys hidden in packages. So someone thinks, what if packages could open by themselves? What if toys could hatch themselves out of eggs? Hence, Hatchimals and the Canadian toy company Spin Master came up with a product that was very interesting and well-liked by consumers. In fact, to the extent that it was one of the leading toys a few years back. The company realized that while they had designed it with the idea that the market would be girls between the ages of 6 and 8, but they found it was popular with boys and older kids. Hence, design thinking is important in understanding and finding new market segments. Let's now look at the case of another entrepreneur. Someone working in the wood industry had a proposal to use wood from demolition and construction sites. But as faced by many entrepreneurs, there were no takers. So they moved down a bit. They said, what about reusing chopsticks? And now, with a company called Chop Value, they've come up with product designs that are highly innovative, reusing chopsticks and creating products which are well-liked in the industry and supported by restaurateurs. How many chopsticks have they recycled in this manner? As of October 2021, they've recycled 38.5 million chopsticks. They have a microfactory franchise, which is used across North America, and this is a product that's very reputed. Let's look at another Tri-City startup. Traditional laundry detergents are messy and wasteful. The packaging is using plastics and is very heavy. It takes up a lot of storage space. Again, another problem in society. How can that problem be solved? Enter True Earth, A plastic-free, zero-waste laundry detergent. No measuring, no spills, and it's a laundry strip. It's plastic-free, compostable cardboard sleeve packaging, which is eco-friendly, hypoallergenic, biodegradable, and vegan. Starting in 2019, this company now serves people in 65 countries. So getting back to design thinking, the focus for entrepreneurs should be understanding the problem, understanding what are the problems in our communities, the real world problems, as we have seen in the case of many presenters before, involving users. Let's now take the case of getting new ideas and new perspectives. Let's take the case of Barbara Beskind at IDEO, a design company. She was first hired at IDEO for an exploratory project on aging. At age 91, she was many times thrice the age of the people around her. For a project designing robots to make robots more accessible to older people, one of the first questions she had was, well, won't large eyes be infantilizing the product? Can your doctor send prescriptions through this robot? Can it be paid for by Medicare? These are perspectives that older people might have in product design. To get back to what James Martin said from Spin Master, the essence of design thinking is we are open to ideas from wherever they come. And this is particularly important for entrepreneurs, understanding problems, understanding their origins in society, and then focusing on trying to solve them. To learn more about solutions to community-based problems, join us at the Innovation Center at UFV. Thank you.
Sarah Muxlow is an end-of-life doula, registered social worker and educator. She is co-founder of the End-of-Life Doula Association of Canada and holds a degree in social work from the University of the Fraser Valley. She is trained in vigil, hospice, and bereavement care. Sarah has dedicated herself to expanding education and services surrounding hospice, palliative care, and grief and loss. The website for her business, Live Purposefully, describes her as empowering clients through proactive care planning, which assists people in living purposefully with peace of mind, confidence, and connection. Sarah, please.
Mom, I think you should really come to the home. I think this might be the morning that Nanny dies. On February 26, 2016, I had been vigil with my nanny all through the night, watching and listening to her every breath, seeing her decline right before my eyes. My mom and I looked at each other thinking, was that really her last breath? It had been a long 3 weeks. Nanny was never left alone. I jumped into my bed with her like I always would, and I held her in my arms. I knew that when I let go, everything would be real and that she would have died. Once I let go of my nanny, Mom was already on the phone, making the 20 million calls needed to be made after someone dies. I started the slow drive home from Agassiz to Rosedale, passing over the bridge and thinking how we had a pretty good end-of-life experience. And yet, there are many challenges we were unprepared for. I wondered, how do other families navigate these struggles? How are people in our community being supported through aging and end of life? And what about people who don't have families or families nearby? There's a trend of avoidance when it comes to talking about death. It can make the reality of the situation or the reality of the future feel too real. I hear you. It's uncharted territory. You feel uncomfortable, terrified of offending your loved one, and unsure if it's even your place to bring it up, praying that your intention of love and care shines through. And every family member feels like they know exactly what their loved one would want based on their unique relationship. This causes a lot of confusion with the differing point of views and can overshadow what the person truly needs and wants. And we know it's not family conflict. And now talking about death is just one piece of the puzzle. There's an immense amount of work and sacrifice that comes with fulfilling the multiple evolving roles of a caregiver. Caregivers carry a 24/7 responsibility for constant problem-solving, decision-making, and support with daily tasks, often leading to complete caregiver burnout. Research shows that people feel unprepared for the role. Everybody wants to give their loved one the best care possible, but that can be limited by career, finance, and knowledge barriers. This work is primarily gendered, unpaid, invisible labor. Quality care should not be dependent on privilege. At the time that this was all taking place, I was in the midst of my social work degree. I began to understand the experience of navigating our healthcare system and the gaps that exist in supporting families. I knew we could do better. This motivated me to create my business for the purpose of closing these gaps within planning and support so people didn't have to learn on the go. I create opportunities for people to feel safe and supported to talk about death, what it means to them and for them. By having these conversations, we can lessen uncertainty, fear, and conflict. When everything is outlined, family can focus on what matters most, time together. Having these conversations and making a plan while you are healthy is encouraged by end-of-life doulas, so that care received at the end of life is appropriate and aligned with your wishes. Preparing isn't going to jinx yourself. It's taking control over what you can during such an unpredictable part of life. Let's try an exercise. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Think about your family. What would be their experience if you died tomorrow? Open your eyes. Would they be prepared and know what to do? None of us know when we're going to die. There's no notice, reminder email, heads up. Death doesn't set an appointment. Death is often unexpected. It's never too early to have these conversations, but it could be too late. When I met Jennifer Malmis, we decided to take action. As a community home care nurse, Jennifer is frontline, working within the frustrating healthcare system, unable to adequately support people through aging and end of life. Together, we founded the End-of-Life Doula Association of Canada to raise the standard of end-of-life care by establishing the scope of practice, code of ethics, and body of knowledge for the doula profession, and to offer Canadians greater resources and support. End-of-life doulas are a calm and reassuring presence with knowledge of the death and grief experience. Doulas provide information and resources to allow you to make informed decisions and to access support. Working with a doula in advance can significantly improve the quality and dignity of end of life. Now, working with a doula is not just for people who are old, sick, or near the end of life. Planning for the future is for all adults. When people learn about my business, they share, "Oh, it's incredibly valuable and needed." In the same breath, they say, "I'll call you in 20 years. That's a red flag. It is not in our best interest to disassociate ourselves from death. By all of us normalizing these conversations and planning, because no one's excluded, new norms for families and communities can be created for how end of life and death is approached. Imagine how empowering could it be to take control over what your end of life experience looks like and to have control over how your family will be prepared and supported. You have this opportunity. My hope for you is that you don't wait until you receive a diagnosis or experience a sudden death to motivate you to complete your planning and to have some of life's most important conversations. Avoiding the conversation doesn't prolong life or change the inevitable. It only lessens the opportunity to improve it. Let death motivate you to live and create the change you want to see in the world. Thank you.
Trevor McDonald is a catalyst for change in his role as Executive Director of the Downtown Chilliwack Business Improvement Association, the BIA. Raised in Chilliwack, The longtime entertainer promoter Trevor has a wealth of experience, knowledge, and relationships that enable him to be an effective agent of change, including having co-curated the Party in the Park and co-organized the Chilliwack Give-a-thon that raised more than $10,000. As a result of his many community-driven efforts, Trevor has been honored with the Stan Rogers Legacy Award from the Chilliwack Chamber of Commerce and the Paul Harris Fellowship Award from the Chilliwack Rotary Club, both attesting to his lifelong commitment to the community of Chilliwack. Trevor, please.
Thank you, Ian. This is me at 54 years on the planet. I can say that I've become a catalyst for change, doing my part, making positive change, which has a direct and positive effect on myself and my community. Let's talk about how we can become catalysts for change and the people and the organizations in our community who are themselves change champions and influences on me. Jim Pattison. Meeting Jim was unbelievable. I've been fortunate enough to meet people who are big-time change catalysts like Jim, but it's always been the community-level champions that left the biggest mark on me and gave me the inspiration to become a champion for positive change in our community. It's my brother, Sean. Family members definitely can be change champions. Sean's passed away now, but he's always going to be a hero to me. He was the first in our family to break our low-income, low self-esteem family stereotype. He walked proud with a swagger and made a good living as a stonemason in Victoria. When he got too old to work at his best in that line of work, he moved back in with his family into my basement. Here he went back to school to be a social worker, a complete life pivot. He was a catalyst for change in my life, showing me that our family could be more than the generation before if we did the work. He showed me the positive results achieved from making courageous changes. Community builders are community leaders as well. Brian Minter is a lifelong flag waver for the city of Chilliwack and a true catalyst for change. His resume of community service is long, but it was one instant many years ago that was monumental for me. I saw him working frantically in his shop, but he stopped in his tracks to help an older lady with a garden concern. I watched from a distance as he spent 20 minutes patiently listening and offering advice. She immediately became his top priority. And that instant, Brian was a catalyst of change for me. He taught me everyone was important and their story was to be heard and respected. He changed me, treating all future social interactions with honest intention and compassion. This is Margaret Paulding, my favorite teacher, my elementary school music teacher. She was the first person who saw musical promise in a shy, awkward kid, and she became a change champion to me, gave me the confidence to shine, encouraging my musical gift, and brought me out of my shell as a young guy, made me appreciate my worth. When I moved on to high school, she wrote me a note of encouragement, which I still have 40 years later, and I just showed her 2 years ago. Because of her positive influence, I became a full-time musician, performed over 10,000 shows in 25 years, and I still use that musical gift to work with different charities, auctioning off my show and using that great gift. To inspire positive change, become the positive change. Use your passion to find a voice that inspires others. I found my voice in all the amazing work that our nonprofit organizations do in our community that hit home with me as we were a family that could have used these services. So it was a personal mission of mine to create positive change through our nonprofits. Nonprofit organizations are change champions. They're the driving force for immediate positive change in our community. They provide food, clothing, shelter, and in the best cases, empower a person to be the positive change they can be, and in turn, inspire others around them. Let's look at two. Mike Shoka and the Chilliwack Bowls of Hope Society. Mike's passion for this cause was contagious. Mike had me hooked within 5 minutes of our first chat, explaining his program where volunteers prep and deliver lunch to 23 schools and 850 children in our school every school day. The program fuels the student's mind and body, resulting in higher academic achievement and improvement in overall behaviors, immediate positive change in our community. Sadly, Mike has passed away, but his legacy of positive change continues through his family, staff, and volunteers to this very day. Don Armstrong is the food bank and emergency coordinator of the Salvation Army. His tireless work with this organization provides food for the needy through different programs in our community daily. When he's not working locally, he's on the road providing assistance to frontline workers protecting our community. In our conversations together, he made me aware of the many programs the Salvation Army offers that provide positive change in our community. The soup kitchen, outreach program, Christmas hampers, food vouchers, and family services, just to name a few. Don and Mike were inspirational to me as they encouraged myself and many others to do more for our community. They show us one person can make a big difference. To be a change catalyst in your workplace. Now, that's where my new adventure at the Chilliwack Business Improvement Association began. It was the perfect fit for me. It allowed me to be a champion of change for the beautification and inclusiveness of downtown, encouraging people to have a vested interest in our downtown. The downtown development is a great catalyst. The excitement behind the ongoing developments downtown has been a great catalyst for change with other buildings in the area. We're currently working on over 20 building improvement projects in the downtown, similar to the one you see here. The owner has since started renovating the inside based on the outside changes. We have street cleaning programs. Along with our unofficial mayor of downtown Chilliwack, Harold, keeping our streets clean for over 20 years, we've started a street clean project with Ruth and Naomi's Mission. These teams work in 4 sections of the downtown, getting paid through a grant from the city of Chilliwack. The program empowers folks from Ruth and Naomi, and it's my hope it lets them take pride and ownership in the community. Volunteers are great catalysts for change. Working with the BIA, the Kindness Change Chilliwack are a volunteer group of change champions that meet every second weekend to clean up our downtown. They get up to 35 volunteers a weekend to come and help. They also deliver food to the needy and senior-friendly services throughout the community. How can you become a change champion? Look at me there, it's just last year. Give the gift of your time in any capacity you feel comfortable. As you already know, the give is always better than the get, so reach out to your community, volunteer, donate, encourage, share, empower yourself and others by promoting positivity in every aspect of your life. Thanks for letting me share my thoughts and stories. These are just a few of the champions of change in our community that need your support now more than ever. My challenge to you is find a way to be a change champion every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trevor. On behalf of the Creative Commission, a CEPCO committee, and CEPCO President Brian Coombs, I want to thank those who made this program possible. First, I thank our speakers, Amber, Dr. John, Michael, Megan, Aaron, Margaret, Sarah, and Trevor for sharing your stories and passions for change. I am sure our viewers have been inspired and informed by your talks. And I believe as a result of your words and images, we all feel better about living together with you in this extraordinary community. Thank you to Nettie Tam and the staff at CEPCO for all your unfailing behind-the-scenes coordination. Thank you to Tim McAlpine and Studio C at CoWork Chilliwack for your considerable efforts in making this event possible. Thank you to the Creative Commission members for their work in planning and curating the speakers. And thank you to all of you who joined us for our 2021 Catalysts for Change. I think you can all agree PechaKucha is a great platform for businesses and community members to share their stories. We hope to see you in person next year. Good evening.